Testing! Test 1, 2. Okay, everyone, let's start the what if. What if Bulma became a Saiyan? Part 2. Over the course of a couple weeks, Yamcha continued training. Bulma joined in on the fun more often than she expected she would, and while she was happy to be spending time with Yamcha, she could tell something was different. Something was drawing her to train. Something primal. It was definitely different about her, but for some odd reason, she didn't care. She just enjoyed being happy with her new boyfriend. She still loved science and technology, she simply had a new hobby to work alongside of it. One day, Yamcha decided he wanted to go train in the forest. Bulma, of course, was not happy with this. Bulma, come on, I've got to train. I gotta get as strong as I get for the world tournament. If I want to get stronger, then I need to go somewhere I can really test myself. Bulma shouted, You just want to leave me? I thought we had something special, and here you are going off to train for who knows how long. Yamcha looked off to the side and said, well, when you put it like that, I mean, come on, Bulma, I just want to get stronger for the world tournament. It's not like I'm leaving for good. I didn't let Goku use the Dragon Balls just so my boyfriend could abandon me like this. Yamcha tried to pull away from Bulma's grip. He managed, but it was a lot harder than he thought it would be. Yamcha said, Well, I can't train here. Basic exercises can only go so far. Bulma, just understand, please. Bulma was furious. In fact, she was having an extremely hard time restraining herself. Every fiber of her being wanted to beat Yamcha within an inch of his life. Bulma, catching her own thoughts for a moment, suddenly snapped out of her anger. Did she really mean that? What was getting into her? Sure, she had gotten angry before, even violent, but she never wanted to hurt him to that degree. Yamcha stepped forward a bit. Bulma, are you okay? Bulma's focus was pulled back to Yamcha, and there it was, that anger welling up again. Her own thoughts and emotions were running rampant and completely out of control. She didn't want to hurt Yamcha, but she did at the same time. She decided she needed to make a compromise before she snapped completely. Bulma stormed off into Capsule Corp and shouted, Wait right there! Before slamming the door with enough force to shake the entire house. She started gathering up the capsules. Before she left, she looked at herself in a mirror. Her black hair and tail. It reminded her of something. And then a thought creeped into her mind. Was it the wish that caused this? I mean, sure, she knew the tail and the hair were a part of the wish. That was a given. But what about her emotional state? She didn't know just yet. But the scientist in her wanted answers. She would figure this out later. Right now, she needed to make sure Yamcha didn't up and abandon her. She opened the door. A little happy and surprised to find Yamcha was actually waiting for her. She said, Okay, hotshot, where are we heading? Yamcha asked, You want to come too, Bulma? Bulma answered, a little stung by the question, Of course I want to come! If you want to go train so badly, then I'll just have to come with you then, won't I? Besides, it's not like I hate exercising with you either. Yamcha looked surprised at first, but then had a big goofy smile on his face. The same one he always seemed to have whenever he was in a good mood. Well, thanks, Bulma. I didn't know you enjoyed our time together that much. Already scouted a good place to start our adventure. Come on! Bulma nodded and walked with Yamcha out of the city, into the vast rolling hills. Yamcha wanted to go to an old forest that had said to be the training grounds of the first martial arts masters. As they traveled, Bulma found herself clinging to Yamcha's arm more than normal. Soon, sunset came, and they were just barely able to get to the outside of the forest before deciding to make camp. Bulma pulled out her capsules and threw out an entire house. Yamcha said, Can't go anywhere without capsules, can you? Say, what's this place got exactly? Bulma decided to answer Yamcha's question by simply opening the door and letting him look around. It seemed like an average house. One bathroom, one bedroom, a living room, and a sizable kitchen. But it also had one additional feature that Bulma clearly added herself. A miniature laboratory just beside the bedroom. Bulma said, Like it? I designed the room myself. It was a small room, about as big as a cubicle, and a small computer and several gadgets that Yamcha really didn't understand. Bulma sat down in her chair and stretched. Hey Yamcha, can you put on some instant ramen? I'm feeling kinda hungry. Yamcha was too distracted playing with a microscope to respond. Bulma asked again, this time pulling his ear to her mouth. She shouts, Yamcha, put some ramen on please! Yamcha pulled away from Bulma, rubbing his ear. Ow, sheesh, okay, you didn't have to be so mean about it. Bulma got lost in her work. Very few things felt the same to her after the wish. She enjoyed things she didn't enjoy before, her hair was impossible to wash, Her emotions were out of control, and she ate a ton more than she used to. One thing did remain completely unchanged: her love for science. With superhuman strength, she managed to cut a strand of her hair to examine. The hair instantly grew back, a fact she took note of. Bulma looked over her hair. It was interesting. It was nothing like normal hair. It wasn't even made of the same substance, if her measurements were to be believed at least. She decided to take some blood. She noticed the normal white and red blood cells, but oddly, there were a few yellowish cells as well. They seemed dormant. They didn't react or respond to anything, but her scans showed that they had a tremendous amount of power in them. Yamcha, after finishing the ramen, decided to walk up behind Bulma. Eager to get her back for screaming in his ear, he knelt down right beside her head. Bulma was too enamored in her studies to realize he was right behind her. With a deep breath, Yamcha shouted at the top of his lungs, "Bulma, the ramen's ready!" Feeling like her soul had just been completely ejected from her body, Bulma jumped up from the microscope, the back of her head nailing Yamcha right in the nose. Yamcha staggered backwards, holding his nose in pain. "Ow! Hey, what did you do that for?" Bulma said, "It's your fault for scaring me like that." Bulma rubbed the back of her head. It was like someone threw a rock at her. Yamcha wasn't faring much better, as his nose was pouring out blood. Bulma looked through her drawers and pulled out a small tissue box. "Here, idiot, now don't scare me like that again." Yamcha and Bulma sat across from each other while they ate. Bulma said, "Wow, this smells really good." Yamcha commented, "Yeah, I bet it does." His nose was currently filled with tissues from the headbutt earlier. Bulma scarfed down her entire comically large bowl of ramen and said, "All of that and I'm still hungry." She was eyeing Yamcha's plate, very obviously. Yamcha slid over what was left and said, "Take it, I need to get some sleep anyway." "We have some training to do tomorrow," Bulma nodded, and swallowed the remainder of the ramen before heading to bed herself. The next day, Bulma instantly put the house back into the capsule as they headed off into the woods. The deeper you went, the more magical it seemed. Large, lush trees and several animals currently unknown to modern scientists. Bulma was even more surprised by the unique fauna. Several various colors, some of which she didn't even know existed. Yamcha came across a waterfall. Several wooden poles stood out of the river's shallow bed at the bottom of it. Yamcha said, "I knew it! Martial arts masters were here!" Yamcha ran out and immediately jumped on one, struggling to find his balance for a moment before finally steadying himself. Bulma forced herself to look away from an interesting flower she was studying. "Oh, hey, wait up!" She decided to show off her acrobatic skills and do a few cartwheels before finally leaping into the air and landing with one foot perfectly balanced on a pole. Yamcha was perplexed and a little impressed. He asked, "Hey, wait, since when can you do that?" Bulma answered, "Oh, I went through an acrobatics phase when I was about 12 or so. I really got out of shape after that, but now that I'm stronger, I'm more agile than ever, so it just sort of came naturally." Yamcha looked around the wooden poles. "You know, I think the old masters would spar on each of these poles, to train balance and stuff. What do you say? Want to go at it?" Bulma nodded. "Of course! Come at me." They continued to fight for what felt like hours. Yamcha was the stronger and more skilled of the two in normal combat, but Bulma had the superior control and balance while jumping around the poles. It almost seemed to even the playing field. Almost. Yamcha was still the far more experienced fighter and knocked Bulma down into the river nearly 24 times. Bulma, at close to dusk, managed to secure a grip on Yamcha's clothing while she fell off and dragged him down to the water with her. They both landed with a splash. Bulma pointed at Yamcha with a triumphant look on her face. "Finally! I got you!" Yamcha said, "What? No you didn't. That was a tie and you know it." Bulma turned her head. "Well, if it was a tie, then I still got you, didn't I?" They both remained silent before finally breaking into a fit of laughter. Bulma can't remember the last time she had so much fun. Fighting and sparring were actually fairly fulfilling. Almost as much as studying and experimenting. Actually, when she thought about it, they felt similar to some degree. Experimenting with fighting styles to see what worked and what did what to other fighting styles was like running experiments in a lab to see what happened. Bulma and Yamcha would continue training for what felt like months, climbing entire mountains, crushing boulders, and using the old training equipment of several masters long since past. Yamcha and Bulma worked in tandem to make each other grow stronger. Bulma would catch up to Yamcha, and before either of them knew it, she was actually starting to pull ahead. But when she got stronger, Yamcha got a better sparring partner, so he improved faster as well. They were both neck and neck in terms of power, but skill and experience were always areas Yamcha seemed to never falter in. Soon, 8 months had passed, and it was finally time to enter the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament. Bulma actually wanted to join in, having a great love for combat. In fact, she spent so much time just training and having fun with Yamcha that she almost completely forgot about her studies on her biology. But not entirely. Some nights she would stay up late and try to figure out what exactly was going on. Eventually, she noticed her DNA, it wasn't human. It was similar, very similar actually, but it still wasn't human. She was oddly not bothered by this. This world was filled with dragons, magical undead, a blue dwarf, talking dogs, dinosaurs the size of mountains, and so much more. The fact her DNA wasn't entirely human was hardly surprising. However, she did have her suspicions that her and Goku's DNA were similar, and if that were true, it means Shinron made her and Goku the same species. It seemed obvious, like a monkey could figure it out, but the scientist in her refused to jump to conclusions without cold hard facts. But just to be on the safe side, she decided not to look at any full moons for the foreseeable future. She would need a sample of Goku's blood in order to confirm entirely. Yamcha and Bulma caught a flight to Papaya Island. Yamcha looked down at the cities and oceans in amazement. Wow, I've never been on a plane before. This is actually kind of neat. Bulma nodded. Yeah, I remember the first time I was on a plane. It was kind of neat too, I guess. As soon as they landed, Bulma and Yamcha decided to race to see who could sign up first. The race was quick, and they ran faster than most cars driving across the road. Yamcha and Bulma seemed neck and neck. Bulma managed to pull ahead and gain some serious ground. However, she oddly ran out of breath just before reaching the sign-up station. Her speed slowed to a stop and she gasped for breath, her hands on her knees. Yamcha handed her a slip of paper to sign up with. Bulma panted, What? How are you still going? Yamcha pointed out, You're fast, Bulma, really fast. But you don't know how to pace yourself. If you don't learn that, then you won't be able to run as long as me or really any other trained fighters. Soon the Turtle School arrived. Krillin, Goku, and Roshi all returning. Roshi signed up Krillin and Goku, as well as himself under the alias of Jakie Chun. Bulma looked down at Goku in a little blue suit. How adorable! Did you guys get all dressed up for the tournament? Goku nodded. Yep, we're gonna fight and win the tournament. Roshi smacked Goku over the head. Haven't you learned anything? You're not here to win the tournament, just compete. Trying to win your first tournament is arrogant. Yamcha said, Yeah, well, I'm sure one of us will win it. Goku noticed the sign-up sheet in Bulma's hand. Hey, Bulma, you're fighting too? Bulma nodded. Yep, I know it sounds strange, but I've just found fighting so fun lately. Goku said, That's great. I can't wait to see how strong you've gotten. Krillin interjected. Wait, so we're going to be fighting some city girl in the tournament? This ought to be easy. Yamcha told Krillin, Actually, we have to get through the preliminaries before fighting in the actual tournament. They don't let just anyone who enters the tournament fight in it, at least without testing them. That wouldn't be so much a tournament as it would be a wild street brawl. While everyone was heading inside, Roshi snuck away and got changed into his alias. Bulma remembered something. Oh, hey Goku, can I get a blood sample? Goku asked. What? Bulma pulled out a needle. I just need a bit of your blood, don't worry. Goku was standing behind Krillin. What kind of weapon is that? Whatever it is, just keep it away from me. Bulma said, It's not a weapon, silly, it's a needle. I just need a bit of your blood to... Goku cut her off. I don't care what you call it, keep it away from me. Bulma was losing her patience, but Goku was saved by the bell as the announcer stated, Okay, all participants come inside and draw your number. Anyone not inside within the next 5 minutes will be disqualified. Move it! Goku snuck away and managed to get lost in the sea of people. Bulma started hunting for Goku, but Yamcha pulled on her hand. Come on, we don't want to be late. Bulma gave up the hunt and decided to go inside. The ballots were drawn and everyone, by sheer random chance and plot, was given different brackets to fight in. Nobody would be fighting each other before the tournament at least. Bulma would end up fighting and replacing Ranfin in the tournament. Everything else goes as canon, except for the ballots. You see, the ballots are random, aside from the 20-second tournament where Tien tampered with them. So I'll be completely randomizing them to add flavor to the story. Maybe it'll ruin it, maybe it won't, I just want to do it. Now some may argue that I should have randomized the preliminaries if I want to randomize the tournament, and I would have, but I don't know every single person who fought in them, so that's impossible, or at least not as viable. Now the randomizing fights are as followed. Fight number 1. Bulma versus Krillin. Interesting, that seems like a nice fight. Fight number 2, Roshi versus Giren. Again, not too bad of a fight. Fight number 3, probably the least interesting and most boring. Bacterian versus Nam. Although I'd argue any fight featuring Bacterian is going to be pretty boring and straightforward. Fight number 4 leaves Goku and Yamcha. Ouch, ouch. Yeah, sorry, Yamcha. He really does seem to have bad luck when it comes to getting opponents in these tournaments. He's probably going to get knocked out round 1 again. Anyway, now that you know the ballots, I think that's a good place to leave off. Good luck with tomorrow and every day after. Oh, and keep an eye out for next week's video. I mean it. On the dot. I am not faltering this time.